Hey there, and welcome to That's Audacious, where we share entrepreneurial stories from amazing leaders to inspire and motivate you to be bold, brave, and audacious. I'm your host, Lauren Clemett, the brand navigator, here to share stories that will make you say, well, that's audacious. Hello and welcome to That's Audacious. Today we have the fabulous Nic Hayes with us. Nic is an amazing media professional. He has almost 3 decades, which means he's very old, of experience as a broadcaster, a podcaster, a storyteller, a writer and a communicator. All of those hats he wears all at the same time. Nic, tell us a little bit more about where you came from and what on earth got you into this business of what you do.
Oh, hello, Lauren. Hello, everyone. Look, thank you. And can I just say, I just love the word audacious. I think audacious sums up sums up everyone that should be wanting to and looking to engage in media. My journey was a little funny. I didn't intend to work in media. I started off, I joined the army when I was 18 and spent some time there, then joined the Victorian Police Force, all before the age of 24. So I wasn't heading down the pathway of media until those two employments didn't quite fit with me, and I was looking for something else. So I was doing a media degree, a Bachelor of Arts. I was doing a Bachelor of Arts major in psychology, and then my media was a minor. So I tapped into that, and the minute I got into it, I just loved it. So that kicked off my career into media intelligence, which was a little company called Rehaim that many people may or may not know of. It's now called Isentia. And that's media monitoring the media, what's going on, what's happening. So I literally, Lauren, got paid to listen to radio, watch TV and read newspapers, which for me was the greatest thing ever. A little bit better than running around with a rifle in the army or
being told what to do all the time.
Correct. I became my own boss. I shouldn't say I became my own boss. I was working for businesses both here in Australia and in the UK in the media intelligence space. But I came back in, I think it was about 2008, 9, and employment wasn't looking crash up for everyone. It was a bit of a tough time. So I started my own agency, my own PR agency, and was doing very well with that. But I had this little goal. I just believed that media was under so much pressure, extreme pressure back then, and it is now, to find right experts, commentators, people to work within the media. Constantly I was getting asked by producers, have you got a good family law lawyer that we can have a chat to? Do you know a good podiatrist that we can have a yarn to? And I knew all the people, I just didn't have connections with them. And then Media Stable was born, and we haven't looked back. We're now into our 14th year and going stronger than ever.
I love it. It's been quite a journey. I love that story from lugging rifles around the place and listening to radios. That's brilliant. What's changed, Nic? What's the biggest? And I mean, it's been a massive change with media. We know basically, all sorts of things. But for you, someone who's worked in that for so long, what's the biggest stuff that you've noticed?
Back in the very first days of the media intelligence, media monitoring, we were getting information via fax. Mobile phones kicked in, emails were sort of very brand new. I am now dating myself big time, aren't I? But that was the very first big change. Faster communication. It was almost instantaneous. If you said to a young person today, what's a fax machine, they're gonna look at you blankly. But it was what used to feed the newsrooms right around the country. Email changed everything as well. That was the immediacy. Australia Post was sitting there going, "Oh, we're almost defunct," but that moved quickly. But the biggest change that has happened has been social media, without any doubt. The digital space. We are now living with our phones, with access to the entire globe. We've never been more connected, but at the same time, Lauren, we've never been more disconnected. And that's been the challenge, I think, and the biggest change that has happened in media in recent times.
Yeah, there's always the pros and cons, aren't there? I remember once getting a text from somebody when I lived in New Zealand telling me, oh, earthquake, and then I felt the earthquake. That was how fast it sort of dawned on me, how quickly things had changed, how fast things were going. As you say, used to be okay that you could wait till I'm back in the office to take a telephone call from somebody. Now it's like, no, I want it immediately. So the speed has gone like mad. And the amount of content is just huge out there, isn't it? How are people in the media getting through all of this plethora of experts that are appearing out there? How do they actually now decide who they should be interviewing and who they should be talking to?
Well, the truth is, Lauren, they're not. It's just impossible. I mean, you nailed it right there with the amount of content that's flying around, the amount of experts, the amount of people that say they are experts, not necessarily so. I mean, there's just so much content out there. One of the big changes, I suppose, for media, and it has been, and MediaNet does a media landscape report every year, their number one source of content and experts for media is the relationships that they have with people that they know. So that is the number one. Number two is actually the media release. So when you have a relationship and a connection with the journalist and the media, that's what you're trying to do. That's what most experts should be putting all their time and energy into, is becoming known, but building a relationship so that they are a trusted media asset. When you're a trusted media asset, you'll get the media engagement, but then you'll be asked back. And that's the sure sign of success for any expert or commentator out there. Is it's not the first media engagement you get, it's the second one and the third and the fourth, because that's when you know that you succeeded and that your content and your expertise is trusted, it's relevant, and it's what audience wants.
Yeah, I love it, because we all know an expert is an X as a has been and a spurt to drip under pressure, right? So I guess what we need to do is figure out, okay, it's all about relationships. It's all about making sure if you approach the journalist either by email, press release, source spot, or whatever it is, if they then go looking for you, they really do need to find you, don't they? You need to be all over Google. You need to have a great LinkedIn profile. You need to at least have some evidence that you're an expert. Either you've written a book about it, or you've been interviewed by somebody else, or you've won awards, all these sorts of things. What are some of the things you're seeing happen in terms of those metrics? We were talking before about vanity metrics versus real metrics that journalists will trust, compared to just slapping a logo that you've been on Fox News on your profile and things like that.
Yeah, that just doesn't work. Straight up, doesn't work. If you do that, it's that they want to see substance, and they also know what is real and what's not. You and I have had chats about the fake media that's out there, media that will, put out there and put you in a top 10 list, etc. That has a purpose to put yourself in there and pay for that. It's how you deal with it and work with it. I know we'll tap into that a little later, but media is incredibly smart, incredibly intelligent around that. They know if you're good at it, if you've been on a 7, a 9, a major masthead of a newspaper, or been on a commercial or non-commercial radio station. They can get a sense and feel. It's just as important that on LinkedIn as it is on maybe Instagram, on other websites, even Facebook. Facebook is still the number one website or site or online site that journalists will use over any other. Funnily enough, LinkedIn is getting up there higher, but it's still Facebook is where they source a lot of their content. But they can smell it. If they can smell a rat, they're very quick to dismiss that straight away. Those little badges and logos as seen on, and particularly you just use the word Fox. What is an Australian expert doing with Fox on their banner? Get it off, people. Don't put it on there. Don't go and talk to the LA Times when you're sitting in Little Brisbane or Little Old Melbourne. It is, we know when we're being hoodwinked, and we know what's real.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's easier almost to hoodwink the general public, isn't it? I mean, the general public just see these logos, they see you're on the cover of a book or whatever it is that you've created, or the cover of a magazine. That sort of has a level of credibility to a point, but it's only going to go so far, isn't it? The minute you start to dig a little bit deeper, you're going to realize if you really want to be seen as an expert by the media, you want to get asked back, you want to be, interviewed, all that sort of stuff, you really need to have more evidence that you're going to be worth talking to, and you're going to have something different, you're going to have opinions, you're going to be able to shed a light on something that makes that journalist go, wow, that was a great story. Because a journalist's still proud of what they do. I mean, like, I'm looking from an anti-media point here, where I see so much stuff, and I hear people say to me, look, I can only get in media if I'm a friend of Taylor Swift, or I've got a piece of toast shaped like Jesus, or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? Something off of TikTok has got me in the media. What's going on in that zone in terms of real journalism these days?
Look, journalists want to be journalists. Their resources are a lot shorter than what they've ever had, both from a financial and also a human resources aspect. There's not a lot of them running around, and they've got even 3-4 times more work to do. So here we go. They're underpaid, overworked. Oh, geez, don't we all feel like that? But and in many ways, they are under a lot of pressure. Their paymasters have them wanting to report and need to report on a certain amount of stories. It's a pretty tough gig, and when I say it's a tough gig, it's done by people that love this. They absolutely love and adore this. This is more than a job to them. This is a vocation. This is something that they live and breathe news. And particularly if you're talking like programs like Sunrise, the Today Show, Project, 7, 9, 10 nightly news, the 12 o'clock newses, the 4 or 5 o'clock newses, major mastheads around the country from all of the state newspapers to the national newspapers. These people literally get up in the morning, look to their phones, see what's happening, what's going on, and then, working out what stories of the day that they're going to be involved in. So journalists are actually seeking content and news. Don't give up. You don't have to have a Jesus-shaped piece of toast. What you kind of need is a good relationship and connection in with the journalist, and the right timing and the topic and the relevance of the story all coming together. It is difficult to do this. If it was easy, we'd all be doing it. But it's just finding the right time and the right position to do it. And it's a process that you kind of need to help the journalist help you. Help the journalist by giving them the right content, all the case studies and things together to make the story work. And when you've done that, it's what we call a ready-made package. When you've done that, the story's more likely to get over the line than them having to do all the groundwork and base work. Make it really easy for them, and believe me, you'll get your story up.
I love it. So writing a little press release that says, hey, I've won this award is probably not going to be enough. You're going to need to actually do a little more work than that. Sorry, guys, more work required.
Well, no, just on awards, though, because I think awards do play an important role, but it's not what you lead with. That's what you end with, okay? Oh, by the way, we've been speaking to Lauren Clemett, who is an award-winning expert commentator. Right, go with that, because that's the end, and that gives you more authority. I like awards. The thing with awards is always difficult. If we were to fill our media pages and airtime with people that won awards, then that's all we would put up. So it is difficult, and a lot of media companies do get behind awards, and that also then creates the competition and exclusivity there with that. So the media does shy away from it. It's not the award that you won, it's what you did to get it. So go back to that.
Yeah, I love it. So tell us, Nic, what you do to help people build their profile. How does Media Stable work? And maybe also, what are some of the really foundational basic steps that if you want to be seen as an expert, you want to really grow your profile, what should you be doing right now to make sure that that's going to happen? First
and foremost, be available, be ready, and be good at what you do. That's the foundation of any expert and commentator that's out there. When I say be ready, it's just, if 4BC or 3AW is calling right now, can you do an interview in 3 to 5 minutes? Absolutely, you can. Unless you're in a sort of a $10 million negotiation over the board table, forget it. They can wait. But be ready to do it. Be good at it. And it's not about necessarily being a sort of a Barack Obama deliverer of information and content in that perfect sense. It's just be a good media asset, supply good information, intelligence, facts and evidence, and support it with opinions. If you can do that, you will really become a media asset very quickly. And I suppose the last and part of a really good expert is, again, be available. You kind of got to drop everything in some forms to do this, and you've got to be committed to doing it. But you only need, the funny thing is, Lauren, you don't need a lot of media to really demonstrate your authority to your current clientele and your future clientele. We work off a little thing called, it's 10, 5 radio pieces, 3 print pieces, and 2 TV. If you can get 5, 3, and 2 together, then you are going to have the foundations there for really strong expertise and something for people to find when they're searching around before they contact you. When we all do a little bit of searching around, finding out what's going on, they'll find that. So that's a great start for anyone that's looking to be in the media or to be an expert commentator. Get that part right, and then you're on your way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they are going to stalk you. They are going to go and look and find out if they can find a great headshot, if they can find evidence that you're an expert, if they can find all these other things. Just going to make their life a lot easier, isn't it? Now, in saying that, I do want to touch briefly on the difference between vanity metrics and what you do for paid exposure versus earned exposure, because we've both talked about this a lot. And I know both of us have a pet peeve that when somebody has paid to either be on a masthead or a cover of something or on a podcast, whatever it is, they paid to be there. They then posted onto social media saying, "Oh, I'm so honoured to be part of this summit," or "I was so surprised that I got featured." It's just the wrong way to approach it, isn't it? How do you think people should balance that idea of what do you do when I've got paid exposure versus earned exposure?
Look, I'm not against paid. I think paid plays a really important role. And let's face it, for a lot of us out there, we're not going to be immediate opportunities to be in the media straight up, just purely for our expertise. There's a lot more factors that come into play there. I think when you do pay for it, it is just important to respect your audience, respect the people that you work with. Don't try to hoodwink them and say, I've managed to get in the top 10 communications advisors for the country. Everyone knows the Australian Business Journal, a lot of other little publications that just might sound like media, but not quite. They know that they are fake, but for a lot of people, probably don't know. I think the only time that when people do that and pretend that they've won something or they've earned it, when they've really paid for it, it really demonstrates a lot about them and who they are. So just be wary and mindful. And what that actually does is it starts a bit of a tidal wave of people seeing that of their colleagues or friends getting these awards and going, how did they do this? Maybe I need to do it as well. And then it just becomes a really murky sort of space. If you're doing it, do it, but don't claim it as earned media because believe me, a lot of those articles that I see in there, they're done by people that actually have a right, almost have just a one more little extra step, and they would get earned media in their own right. And that's something that you can see in the experts. Some very smart people are doing it, but they're playing a bit of a silly game when they're claiming it as earned when they've really paid for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're seeing more and more of that pay to play, pay to speak on a stage, pay to be on a podcast, pay to be part of a book collaboration, all these things happening. So I guess people just need to be a little bit wary, don't they, of what's going to taint your image and what's actually going to build it. So you are listening to the That's Audacious podcast. We will have the information at the end of this on how to get hold of Nic and how to find out more about Media Stable and everything he has to offer. But if you want to find out more about how to build your profile, there are lots of other episodes available wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Now, Nic, let's talk specifically about a couple of things. Media Stable and Expert Registry. Those are two really awesome offerings that you have. I mean, I would think that there are some basic foundational things that people need to do in order to make themselves, to get all over Google and to get their brand out there. Things like making sure they've got a great LinkedIn profile, they've got a headshot, a bio, a media kit, all that sort of stuff, all that basic stuff ready to go. There's Source Bottle, there's Haro, there's Source of Sources. There's all sorts of different things that you can be registering for, but a lot of it is very time consuming, isn't it? I mean, in reality, the media world, as you say, is constant. It's like, I need an expert now. So you have to be all over it. How does Expert Registry and Media Stable help people really get in front of the media properly?
Oh, I love that question. Thank you, Lauren. And by the way, I haven't paid you for this podcast, have we? We're very straight up.
Not at all.
But boy, this is a great opportunity for me to talk. Hey, look, Expert Registry for us is like the nursery. It's the it's the beginnings of your media journey. It has a online media training programs with it, but the most important factor around Expert Registry is the profile that you get. Now, the profile that we've designed on Expert Registry mirrors exactly the same profile as would appear in Media Stable. And we did that on purpose because we started this back in COVID times when no one could meet. But the reality was that if we had a profile that we could switch over, it would just be a natural step up, a natural advancement there for someone who wants to really go after for their expertise and authority there. Expert Registry is just that. It's just a register of experts that media can see, and on occasions we do source content for that for our media board. I can explain that a little later, but that's a media stable product that gets fed out to 500 plus journos, and that's a great start for anyone that's just even thinking about it. Toe in the water, very inexpensive. Media Stable, however, is your sort of flipped public relations program. Instead of us working just with 5 or 10 clients, Media Stable works with over 250. We work with everyone from Amazon all the way down to one of my favorite experts in Perth, a little dog trainer, and I swear that do very well. These is a platform where we exercise and put content out to media with trusted experts that work, and that's what we've built our 14 years around, is the trust and the authority that our experts bring, because they're vetted, checked, and the content's real. So we're a little different to PR. We're not punching out information just because a client's asking us to do it. We're punching out information because it's what media wants and needs, and experts to match with it. And they've got a choice to pick and choose the content if they want it. We're not pressurized. We don't put any, we don't hit them with a 4x4 with multiple phone calls, etc. It's more about what they want and what they need. And what we've been able to do, Lauren, is we've managed to build a reputation where producers and journalists come to us and go, "Who's who in the zoo? What's happening? What content have you got? I've got to fill a story on Friday. Can you help me out with a story?" Bang. And I loved, SourceBottle and Harrow, I think they're two good sources of information, particularly for those that are starting out. But you put a lot of work in for particularly not a lot of return. And I only say that because a lot of SourceBottle, unfortunately, has been hijacked by a lot of branded websites that are just looking for your content to fill for their purposes, not necessarily for yours. And that's sort of hurt that. But that's not a bad start either. It's a good place to build your content and start telling stories there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you also run events, don't you, where you can actually meet the media? Tell me a bit more of those.
Oh, look, it's probably the thing I'm most proud of, Lauren, is the Meet the Media. We're now in our 10th year putting this around the country. Unfortunately, we don't get up to Brisbane that often, but it's in Melbourne, Sydney, Adelaide and Perth. And we bring some of the best decision makers of media into the room. We hear from them. We find out what they're thinking, what they're talking about, what they like in a story, what they don't like, how to best get through to them. We have a little bit of morning tea, and then after that, we go into these workshops where we get to, as experts and commentators, to let the media know who we are and what kind of media asset we can be for them. And the beauty of that is it changes the future of any expert and commentator there, because the reality is they wouldn't get that opportunity to meet or engage at that level and that amount of media in one room, in one session. And it's so good. It just changes the way they communicate.
Yeah, brilliant. I love it. We'll have to talk you into doing one in Brisbane. I'm sure there'd be a lot of people wanting to go.
We're coming.
So as we wrap this up, because I think we've shared a lot of information with people, some people also, I find, we'd find this with awards, about 80% of people who win awards don't actually leverage them properly. So they win the award, they might mention it on social media once or twice, and that's about it. They might put on their email footer, maybe there's so much more you can do. Do you find the same thing with media, that people, look, I've appeared on a radio station, I've appeared on this, and they just, I'm there, it's all exciting, and then they don't do anything with it? What are some of the tips you've got around leveraging the media?
Oh, it's such a good point, and I hear that, and it's the same thing that happens with media. Half the job is done getting the media engagement as half the job is done winning the award. The next job is to amplify it, make sure that everyone knows about it. You your current clientele to hear about it and see that you are an award winner. You want your future clientele to know that you are an award winner. And that goes the same for media. You know, you want the people that you work with know that you're the go-to person for Channel 9, Channel 7, the ABC. You want them currently to know that they're working with the right person, and then you use it for your own marketing purposes to find your new clients. And when they start hearing you and seeing you more often, they become more familiar with you. And again, when you see awards, you sort of see, I'm working with the right people. I'm working with the people that I should be, because look at that, they've won awards on that. And the same thing with media. It is that stamp of approval, because again, if they were handing out awards to everyone, we'd all have one. It's difficult. And it's the same for media. If everyone was in the media, then we wouldn't be able to discern who we should be working with. But the checks and balances that you have to go through to be that expert, to be that commentator, everyone knows that you must know what you're talking about, and that you do deal with it and carry a lot of authority.
Yeah, absolutely. Nic, thank you so much for today. We're going to finish up by asking you one simple question that everybody asks. If you could go back and give yourself some advice, what would it be?
Oh, look, I know this because I do listen to your podcast. I know that you've been asking this question. I think, look, I'd go back and say, keep going. There's nothing there that I've actually would want to change. And I know that sounds a little cliche, but I did build a business around my family. I built a business around my lifestyle, my passion, and what I really love to do. And if I went back to myself, if I was in the army, or if I was back in the police force, get the hell out. But I would say to my young media person would be, keep it going. You're doing all the right things now, and you will be a product of everything that you learn and see moving forward. And you're doing all right.
It's pretty cool, isn't it? When you have a passion and a purpose for what you're doing, it sort of fires you up, regardless of, the ups and downs of being in business. Everybody goes through it. But when you've got a passion and you know this is what you should be doing, this is what you're here on this earth to do, it just fires you up to keep going, doesn't it? Never giving up. Never
give up. And look, don't think for 1 second I don't have a lot of hard times about it. It's, there is lots of that. And to everyone that's listening, I know how hard it is to run a business. But at the end of the day, the fruits come in, and you always sit back and think about the good times. The bad times, there's nothing that a glass of wine can't fix or wind away.
I love it. That's brilliant. Nic, thank you so much for all these tips, these amazing insights. It's been really great to have you on the podcast. If you want to get in touch with Nic, if you want to find out more about Media Stable or the Expert Registry, you will find the links at the bottom of this podcast. So, Nic, thank you so much. Any last words, any last bits of encouragement for people listening if they really want to get out there and build their expertise?
Put your hand up. Say that you're ready. You are an expert. You are an award winner. Get out there and do it. Don't regret anything. Don't sit back in a year or 2 years' time going, I wish I did that. You've got to put yourself out there. And look, most people, if they're an expert or a commentator, or they've got something that they're very good at, there's something in the media there for them.
Yeah, brilliant. Love it. Awesome. You heard it, guys. Go for it. Don't let anything hold you back. Thank you so much, Nic. And remember, everybody, just get out there and be audacious. Thanks so much for listening to the That's Audacious podcast. Remember, there's no place for modesty in business, and you do deserve to be well known, well paid, and wanted. For more episodes, please subscribe to the podcast on your favourite channel or follow us online. The links are in the description below.